I've got two ideas I want to run by you and just get your response. So the first one, in line of what we're talking about, the dangers of being a hard kinist and those kinds of, like, yes, we, of course, natural affections are a thing. I love my wife more than other people's wives, and if I didn't, I'd be in sin. I love my children more than my neighbor's children, and so on and so forth. And the question is, how many ripples out circles out can we go? But there's something to be said for Romans 9 with the Apostle Paul. I'd be willing to go to hell, which I don't know if I could say for anybody personally. I'm a little bit self-preserving in that regard. But, he's willing to go to hell for his kinsmen according to the flesh, his fellow Israelites. And so there's something to be said there. But when I think of Christian nationalism working, I think one of the reasons why the kinist conversation keeps coming up is it's almost in some ways easier to define. This is what I've bumped up against as I've been talking to people, in this orbit. It's almost easier to define Christian than nation. And so some guys are wanting that ethnoi to wrap it around ethnicity, whereas I feel, and I was looking at that and saying, well, maybe they have a point, and really trying to consider that and give it a fair shake. But what I've landed on is I think part of the problem with America is just, decadence. You track empires, the fate of empires and decadence, and it leads to altruism at a hyper level where you basically have a death wish. You become suicidal. Everyone else can succeed except for us, self-loathing. It's riddled in guilt rather than Christian gratitude for the blessings of God. You feel guilty for the blessings of God. But all that wrapped into what I think of as not the melting pot of multiple ethnicities in our nation, but just the extreme amount of immigration. I feel like you can have 20% of the nation that's white and black, and 20% that's white, 20% that's black, brown, and so on. And if we just limited, no illegal immigration, and then even with legal immigration, it's vastly limited, and you just let 30 years go by, or let's say 50, to where my grandkids. They're like, grandma and grandpa, or grandpa, he fought the same wars. They worked in the same jobs. They went to the same churches. And we're American. We have this shared history, and that would be enough. Right. I don't feel like it needs to all be white, or it needs to all be, I think it's that shared history. It needs time. It can be different pigment, but it does need to be a similar culture. There's a commonality of not skin pigment, not color, but culture. And for that to happen, requires a stableness with and we're just so unstable right now with influx of. Do you feel like that
is absolutely the case? Okay. So one of the things that this is another. We're not. Part of our problem is that we think in simplistic categories. So, for example, in the New Testament, the Apostle Paul was of the tribe of Benjamin. He was a Jew. He was a citizen of Tarsus, no mean city, and he was a Roman citizen.
Right.
Now, those are very different layers of allegiance. Mm-hmm. Paul was willing to use his Roman citizenship. He knew his rights. Mm-hmm. In other words, he was up on basic Roman civics, mm-hmm. And there seems to be a little measure of cavilling or about his city, Tarsus, mm-hmm. which was in Cilicia. And he was a Jew of Jews, circumcised on the eighth day. So when we look at, when people talk about nationalism or kinism, everybody thinks immediately that it's a mono-ethnic nation like Japan is. Okay, so Japan is overwhelmingly one ethnicity. Right. And people think, well, if you're talking about that, then that's what you've got in mind for America. You want to exclude everybody who doesn't fit your particular DNA imprint. Mm-hmm. Well, I talked to Stephen Wolfe about this, and he agreed with me that Americans are an ethne. We have a shared cultural history, language, cuisine, sports teams, history, wars our dads and granddads fought in. That's part of what brings us all together. That sort of thing can form and can have profound tie or a profound claim on people's allegiance. But what disrupts it is if you bring in immigrants like a flood, at a rate far more rapidly than can be assimilated.
Right.
So the issue is not whether a family, a white family, for example, can adopt a black child. They most certainly can, or adopt a Mexican child. They can, and God bless them when they bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. This is great. But if they adopted 150 Mexican children,
right,
then they are not going to do a good job with anybody. They're not going to do a good job with their own kids. They're not going to do a good job with the kids that they've brought in. They're just going to be swamped. They're going to do a terrible job, and the whole thing's going to blow apart.
Yes.
And so the issue is, so when I say that, we need to have control of our borders, it's not because I want to keep people out. It's because I want to make sure that we have a judicious handling of this so that we can bless the maximum amount of people. So if we should be a welcoming nation, and we should, I think, America is a mutt nation. Right. We're not monoethnic like the Japanese or the Swedes. We are from all over. And that's part of our ethnicity. That's part of our melting pot identity. But the pot has got to stay hot enough to melt things. Right? If right now we're just making a salad with croutons from all over, and it's going to be only croutons, and it's not going to be a very good salad.
Right. We got to get back to the soup, and now we need the stroganoff. Right.
Yeah, we need to focus on food, whatever we do,
whatever it is, and it needs to be a hot dish. It needs to be a hot dish. With a ladle that we're stirring together. No, that's very helpful. I completely agree. And I think we need people, so give us your tired, give us your, I think there's something true in that, but I think there's also, America needs to be for America. And if America hates America, it's what you've said, a guy who says, on Mother's Day goes and buys a car that, my mom's the best mom in the world. That guy has a better understanding when other people appreciate their mom than the guy who says, my mom's the worst mom in the world. That guy's not going to respect anybody's mom. And so America needs to be for America. And that's the best chance that America has in being a benevolent nation, not a global empire necessarily policing, the world, or as you've said, the Coast Guard, global Coast Guard for the world. Those days may be over, and that may be in God's providence a good thing. But America should still be benevolent towards other nations, whether it rules them with an iron fist, and that's only going to happen by stemming from America loving America. And so we want people who come in to not just want to live here, but want to love here. They don't just want to live in America, but they actually want to love America. All right. Stop twisting my arm. I know you want to hear the inside scoop. Here it is, the glorious vision of Right Response Ministries for the first half of next year, 2023. We have not one, not two, but three massive endeavors that we will accomplish by the grace of God. The first you already know about. It's our Theonomy and Postmillennialism conference. This is selling out incredibly fast. By the time this commercial airs, you may not even be able to get a ticket. I really don't know. So don't waste another moment. Go to rightresponseconference.com, rightresponseconference.com to join us for the Theonomy and Postmillennialism conference next year. Now, this is where you come in. We need your help. Our next two endeavors are, number one, a documentary style film, and number two, a brand new studio. Both of these things are seeking to accomplish one primary goal, which is excellent, high quality, glorious Christian media. We are tired of as Christians doing things poorly. We've done our best with what we have, but by God's grace, we want to do even better. This is not going to be just another video. This is not going to be a sermon or an interview or a podcast, but we're going to make a documentary style film. And we're going to be hiring Nathan Anderson, the director of On Earth as It Is in Heaven, a very, very successful postmillennialism documentary that's on Amazon and YouTube, came out a couple years ago. He's going to be flying in from Chile to help us direct this film. And our documentary is going to be on postmillennialism and theonomy, why it's biblically valid, why it's absolutely necessary, and why, by the grace of God, theonomy and postmillennialism are currently on the rise. So we're going to make this film, and we need your support. And not just this film, but we're going to make all of our videos and podcasting and everything we do here at Right Response Ministries better. We want to achieve the highest level of quality and Christian excellence that we possibly can. That's where the new studio comes in. This new film, our date that we're shooting for is that it would be complete and publicly available in May or June of 2023, next year. The studio, our goal is that it would be completely done in its construction and the equipment and the setup and the stage and everything by January, February of 2023 next year. We need your prayers. We need your encouragement. And for those of you who are willing to do so, we need your generous support. You can give towards these endeavors by going to rightresponseministries.com/donate. Again, that's rightresponseministries.com/donate. Thank you so much for all your help. God bless.